June 28th, we're going to find out 6 players from each of these 4 teams, the first 6 players named to the roster. So I ask you,
okay,
will JT Miller be one of the first 6 American players named later this month?
I don't think so. I think that eventually he does find his way onto that roster. I'm just not entirely sure it's the first 6. Judging just off the top of my head, there's 6 guys. Like, you look at Jack Eichel, Austin Matthews, you go Jack Hughes, you go, or maybe JT Miller. No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that, I don't know. I really don't.
So, okay, that's my gut reaction as well.
And then you start thinking about it.
JT finished second to Austin Matthews among U.S.-born players this past season. Only Austin Matthews had more points than JT Miller. Like, if you're just going on stats, he'd be an easy pick. But I'm with you that, and it's kind of always been this way for JT, right? You got to keep proving yourself. I think he'll be on the team. I mean, I don't think there's any way, there's not a world in which he's not on that team, but it is kind of funny. I don't know if the first 6, I haven't seen, maybe you have, like, I don't know if they're laying it out like 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie, or if it's just a random 6.
Yeah.
Whatever the case, like, I would have to think Quinn is going to be one of the top American picks. Wouldn't, like, Quinn Hughes should be, guy's going to win the Norris. He's 92-point season. I think Quinn definitely will be one of the first 6 on the U.S. team. But I'm with you, JT. It's a little bit of a slap just because, again, the season that he had. But I'm not anticipating him. What about EP40 on the Swedes? Is he one of their first 6?
I think he's like 5.5, maybe. Just look, I don't know. It's funny you mentioned that because I was talking to someone who obviously is Swedish and isn't around the National Hockey League for a long time. He doesn't think he'll be in the first 6 at all, which doesn't surprise me. Well, if you look down the list of guys, right? Like, I mean, there are some really, really good players.
William Nylander and Philip Forsberg were the only guys that had more points than Elias Pettersson. Now, the list isn't going to be done just based on last year's regular season points, but just if you're using that as a baseline, JT Miller was second among Americans. Elias Pettersson was third among the Swedes. So I am fascinated to see how this all kind of rolls out. And again, I don't know if it's a massive snub if you're not one of the 6. It's more important to be on the roster. But we'll see how we'll get a little taste of what these 4 nations are thinking as far as the roster construct is concerned. I don't have to worry about Canucks and Finns and Canucks and Canadians because not a lot happening in that department with either one of those 2 teams.
Will Thatcher Demko be the starting goalie for that team, or will it be Hellebuck? And will Canucks fans be upset if he is the starting goalie because of the rest that is important for Thatcher Demko?
I gotta think Hellebuck is going to be the guy, but I certainly am expecting that Thatcher Demko will be on that roster. And again, U.S. just has this luxury of so many good options with Jake Ottinger as well. I think those would be the big 3, but Jeremy Swayman probably wants in on that conversation as well. So, that's always the issue. Can we borrow an American goaltender? Can we just I don't know, find a passport somewhere and make one of those guys? I'd take their 4th stringer right now. That's always the issue with Canadian goaltending, and I'm sure that'll be a topic as things move forward here. But I just think based on the season that he had, the fact that he's probably going to win the Vezina, the track record that he's got, that I think Connor Hellebuck in American hockey circles is ahead of Thatcher Demko. But Demko should absolutely, if he can stay healthy, be on that team. But that's a great point you bring up because we know Canuck fans love to be outraged about just about everything. So yes, there's probably a large group hoping that Thatcher Demko is the backup and doesn't ever see the ice and doesn't have to play games. And maybe he falls 4th on that list and doesn't even make the team at all so that he can rest up and use that time to, be prepared for the stretch drive and playoffs for next season. So we'll see how all of that plays out. But again, June 28th, we're expected to get some information on those first 6 players for each of the 4 nations teams.
Thanks for watching this video. For more great content from Canucks Army, check out Sekeres and Price, Rink Wide Vancouver, or our show, Canucks Conversation. We're your one-stop shop for interviews, breaking news, and a live Canucks postgame show hosted by Jeff Patterson.